Hey, good morning. This is Brian G, the evog, and you're joining me here in our Rivian R1T. We call her Valkyrie. I am on the outer Cape Cod in North Truro, Massachusetts, and we're preparing to take our 516-mile ride from here back to Silver Spring, Maryland. I've just planned our route within the Rivian app. Rivian has acquired a better route planner, and that's now been integrated into both the vehicle as well as the mobile app. And so I use the mobile app to, in essence, set my preferences for this trip. I did pay the $7 for this month for Electrify America to bring down the per kilowatt hour rate. And so I wanted to set the preference of either charging at Electrify America or at a Rivian Adventure Network, which is currently exclusive to Rivian owners at a price of, I believe, 36 cents per kilowatt hour. Right, so those are the two options I was able to specify within the Rivian app. And so we're getting ready to embark on this trip. As you'll see here in a second, it is pretty cold. We're starting out at about 28 degrees. So to start us off, one of the things I love about Valkyrie here is the fact that Rivian gives you the ability to see both indicated range in terms of miles, right? And as you can see, I'm in conserve mode. That's what the little leaf there on the left side indicates. I'm in conserve mode. The vehicle setting is at its lowest in that mode. It actually turns the vehicle into front wheel drive, which I'll show you in a second. But in addition to 347 miles of indicated range, you can also see the battery state of charge in percentage, right, at 99%. It was at the same 347 at 100%, so I think we're okay. If we move over, excuse me, and look at the touch screen here, you can see that I'm navigating to our zip code in Silver Spring, Maryland, and temperatures, as I mentioned before, frigid 28 degrees, 8:18 in the morning, and the route planner has indicated that we should make 3 charging stops. And you can see here, right, some of the preferences I have set for this trip, right? I want to avoid ferries, and my preferred range on arrival is about 20%, especially with it being cold. Preferred networks, there we go. As I've indicated, I'd like to specify and have specified just Rivian and Electrify America. And I can apply this once or I can use it always. But those are the preferences that you're able to set, right? So I've gone ahead and done that. And as you can see here, it's specifying 3 charging stops for us. The first one at Electrify America in Waterford, Connecticut, then to Fort Lee, New Jersey, and finally the Rivian Adventure Network in Newark, Delaware. So you can see those as laid out on the map here, right? If I click on that, it will zoom in, and now I've got the information about that first stop where it's suggesting we charge for 29 minutes, right? Does it have, so there's no status with Electrify America in terms of the charger availability. With other networks, I've seen, like with EVgo, it does have availability information, but that seems to be a work in progress right now with Electrify America. So let me come out of here, look at our second charging stop for 42 minutes. This one is Fort Lee, New Jersey. Electrify America, open 24 hours. It's like 450 kilowatt chargers. Don't love that we're not going to 350s. So I may call a couple of audibles while we're out there driving if I see other EA stations that have higher charge rates. We'll have to take a look and see. There's the specifics that you see when you drill into a specific charger at that location. So good information there. I'm interested to see what information we get here on the Rivian site, where it's suggesting we stop and charge for 26 minutes. So there we go. Rivian Adventure Network, 300 kilowatt max. All right, that one looks like it'll give us the beans in terms of electric juice. And it does seem to have availability information here, indicating 6 of 6 chargers are available. All right, so there are the 6 chargers, each of them at 300 kilowatt max. If I drill into one of them, there we get the detail around the location, right, at Christiana Mall in Newark, Delaware, as well as the cost for energy to charge. It's only been about a month and a half, maybe a couple of months now, that Rivian owners are being asked to pay for charging. It had been free, but 36 cents per kilowatt hour, you really can't complain about that. That's actually a pretty competitive rate relative to everything else in the marketplace. So it looks like we get a 10-minute grace period, and then after that, you're charged 50 cents per minute. Totally understandable there. All right. So we are definitely going to stop at that location. We've only used one Rivian Adventure Network site since owning this vehicle for the last 6 months. We picked it up in May, Saturday before Mother's Day. So there you go. I'm going to go back inside, warm up a little bit, finish our remaining packing, and come back out. And when we do, I will hit go, and we'll start the trip timer and see how this one goes. I'm also curious to see, with temperatures being where they are here, as I said, at 28 degrees, when we come back out here, hopefully within 30 minutes or so, if any of this information changes. But before I do, this is one of the best information screens that we get with the Rivian. This is our drive mode screen, and right now we're looking at the on-road option. There are also some off-road as well as trailering options. I'm in conserve mode. 99.9% of the time we're in all-purpose, but for this long road trip we're going to use conserve. I've already reset the trip meter B for this trip. It's giving us an indication of the main battery temperature, the elevation that we're starting out at. We've got a compass there. Tire inflation details aren't showing up yet, but they will once we start to drive. And there we've got temperature settings for each of our 4 motors. So there we go. Tons of information here. And there's a little bit more information about your current drive mode. All right, so as I said, I'm going to head in, finish up our packing, close up the house, and we'll hit the road. So stay tuned. Quick point to note, on this trip, it'll be our first trip where we are traveling with our tonneau cover open. I've got to bring back my 22-inch slipstream wheels from our Model X, covered up over here. This guy's going to live here. Once our garage is finished, I'll be able to move him in there, but I just don't see the point of having the black 22s for it, so I'm just going to keep him on the 20-inch slipstreams. And I'm bringing these back to Maryland, and we'll find them a new home. But for this trip, we'll be traveling with the tonneau rolled up, and we'll see what type of impact this has on things. When we come back here, hopefully garage doors will be on and we can move Dove into her home here in the garage. All right, back here in Valkyrie, and no change. Still sitting at 99%, 347 in conserve, and it's an hour later, not just a half hour. Unfortunately, I need to make a run to the post office before we go, pick up a few things. So we'll see. That should be maybe 3 miles round trip. So we'll see how that impacts things before we set off on our trip back to Maryland. All right, just got back from the pickup at the post office. As you can see from the trip computer, that ride was 3.5 miles round trip, and I averaged 19 miles per hour on the drive. It took about 11 minutes, probably closer to 9, given I think we started out with 2 minutes on that clock. But even though we only drove 3.5 miles round trip, we lost 3% state of charge, and I think we were at what, 347, so 8 miles of range, indicated range anyway, even on conserve mode. Typically with temperatures, and it's getting a little warmer, it's 32 degrees, but typically with temperatures this cold, you can expect 25 to 30%, maybe even a little bit more loss in range. But not sure that I was expecting to see 3% and 8 miles to go 3.5. But pretty small sample size there. Let me go grab the rest of the family, load up, and hit the road. We are way behind schedule. Hopefully we can be on the road by 10 a.m. All right, here we go. Getting ready to start the trip back to Maryland. 95% state of charge indicated, and 338 miles in conserve. Going to reset trip B. There we go. And we'll see what type of statistics we end up with. All right, check back in down the road. All right, we are 90 minutes or so into our drive off Cape Cod, now in, I guess, southern Massachusetts here, headed towards Providence, and we're down to 66% state of charge, 233 miles indicated. And just wanted to share a little bit about how Driver Plus level 2 autonomy works on Rivian. Now, in the last update, we got the ability to change lanes Driver Plus, right? So what I'm going to do after my right lane clears up here in a minute, I've got a car coming up. Typically I wouldn't be in the left lane like this, but I do want to get this on film to demonstrate how this works. Alright, so what I'm going to do is put on my right turn signal. Right? Now the vehicle is not going to initiate the lane change. I have to do that. But once I do, right, see the vehicle is in that orange, and as soon as I recenter in this lane, it automatically re-engages steering and obviously the speed limit that I've got set here at 74 miles an hour. So that's how that works. It really is a great quality of life improvement, especially on long trips. Now, let's check in on the nav. This is a 3D view. Right, top left indicates my next turn. And you can see we've also got that here on the driver's display on the left side. I didn't talk about this earlier, but we've got the ability to set the charging speed for any chargers on the route. Right, this is a long road trip, and so I'm looking for high-speed chargers, so I'm not interested in anything 50 to 150, and certainly not under 50 kilowatts. That ding was the car letting me know I need to keep my hand on the wheel, even though we're in Driver Plus. So that's speed. And then now here it shows the charging networks that I'm interested in using on this trip. Right, I can pick any of those, and then the other option here is to look at chargers based on availability. I know it doesn't have availability information for Electrify America, so I'm not going to worry with that. We do have a compass up here in the top left indicating the direction of travel, and down here it's indicating we're going to arrive at our Electrify America charging location with about 55 miles of range remaining in about an hour and 27 minutes. So that's a little bit of a look at that. We can check in on the driver modes here. Not really much to report other than we've been driving for an hour and 19 minutes. We've gone 76 miles at an average of 57 miles per hour. That's a little bit about where we're at. And let's bring this back. Now it's indicating here, this is interesting, that we can save 6 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and tell it to go ahead and reroute. Save 6 minutes. Alright, there we go. Alright, we'll check back in here down the road. Alright, so you're joining me at our first EA charging stop. And we got here, this site, Waterford Commons, is a max of 150 kilowatts. These are all what they call ultra fast units, as the signage indicates here. And as you can see, maybe not so well from in here. There we go. We plugged in at a 28% state of charge, and that was after waiting maybe somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. There was another guy here in a Polestar 2 waiting, and he actually said a couple of people cut in front of him. I was not going to do that, so after he went, There was a Ford Mach-E here on the end at number 1 that left, and we took that one almost, just a couple minutes after the Polestar 2. So pretty busy here right now. We're full again. All 150 kilowatt chargers are taken, and we've got a pretty nice Cadillac Lyric waiting for someone to leave. But in terms of our metrics here, we're getting decent juice. We're right at 149 kilowatts on this 150 kilowatt charger. All right. We've got about 20 minutes left is what it's saying to go from 47 to 80% state of charge. Right now, our GPS unit in the car is indicating that we've arrived at the Electrify America stop, and it wants us to charge to about 72%. We're going to go to 80%, and once we're done, we can hit go, and that'll take us to our next stop in Fort Lee, New Jersey, which is about 2.25 hours from here. But yeah, this is where we're at. Let's see what type of details we have. Looks like we drove 169 miles and an average of 61 miles per hour to get here, and it's been 2 hours and 45 minutes since we left. So those are our stats. If I can go into our menu, where is this? I need to go into settings, about, trip B, and we can see our efficiency in this cold weather is just under 2 miles per kilowatt hour. So those are the details for now. We're gonna go pick up lunch and come back and hit the road. Hopefully our friend out here in the Lyric doesn't have to wait too much longer. There's one other thing that I wanted to share, and if anybody from Rivian is listening, I really hope that they would add this. So I've got my iPad here. One of the things that Rivian does in their mobile app is it allows you to see the actual charge curve from the time you plug in throughout the entire charging process. This information isn't displayed anywhere in the vehicle touchscreen, so it would be really helpful to have this information here and to have it there as a historical reference to go back and see, hey, this was my charge curve at this 150 kilowatt station. But really useful information here. We can kind of see, if you select one of these lines, it'll tell you, there we go, at that one, right at 12:55, we were at 141 at 12:54. When we first plugged in at 12:53, it was at 138, and you can kind of see how it ramps up, right? So really useful information to have here in terms of what Rivian gives you in the mobile app. So would love to see them add this to the touchscreen and leave it available to us for historical look back reference. I know the Electrify America app typically will give us, the max charge rate during the session, but it won't give you the entire curve as this does. So feature enhancement request, hopefully they listen and make this happen. All right, we're back on the road, and it's an interesting charging session we just had there for our first stop on this trip back to Maryland. Let me get Driver Plus going here. Okay, it's only 55 on this road. It's taken us off of 95 onto 395 South. 2 2.25 hours to our next charging stop, another Electrify America. But Waterford Commons there was interesting. Like I said, there are 6 charging units there. A couple of them are 350s, the rest are 150s. When we got there, all of them were occupied, and there was a guy in a Polestar 2 waiting to charge. So I pulled in next to him just to confirm that he was indeed waiting. He said yes, so I waited. It was less than 5 minutes or so when he got the opportunity, because someone left, to go ahead and charge. And literally 3 minutes after that, guy left on the end, and we got a chance to go. But after we were plugged in and charging, charger number 1, which we were using, worked great. It was a 150 kilowatt unit, and we got the advertised charging speed, so that made for a good session. What was interesting though is, and I'm starting to do this every time I stop to charge, is I walked over and looked at where the other 5 people there were, including this guy in the Polestar 2. He was at 90% state of charge when he plugged in. So I'm like, anyway, I didn't ask him the question, but he was north of 90% waiting to charge. And I don't understand why that is, because there's no shortage of DC fast chargers up and down this I-95 corridor. But besides him, there were 2 other vehicles with a state of charge north of 85%. And that's not something we want to be doing when, we're DC fast charging, unless you absolutely need it, right? The thought process I think that many people have coming into EVs is, I got to fill up, right? And that's just not a thing you want to do on a road trip while you're DC fast charging, because of how slowly every single EV is going to charge, between 80 and 90% or 90% and 100%. It just charges way too slow. And particularly at a congested station where you've got people waiting, get to 80% and move on to your next charging stop. It'll save you a ton of time, and it'll just make for a better experience for everybody that's got to use public infrastructure to charge. So anyway, I will descend the soapbox and leave it at that. We did meet this interesting couple from Long Island driving a Cadillac Lyric. Beautiful car, really one of the best EVs out here. Pretty low state of charge, trying to make their way back from Mohegan Sun to Long Island, and they had to wait about somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. And the charger they plugged into, number 2, was inconsistent. It would start charging and then it would stop. It would start again and stop. So they were not having a great experience. First EV for them, and he was not aware of apps like PlugShare, which every EV owner should have, right, to help you identify where chargers are. And he was using a credit card swipe on the Electrify America machine versus using their app, right? So as EV owners, you're going to want to have PlugShare, you're going to want to have the apps for Electrify America, EVgo, maybe ChargePoint, the most prevalent CCS networks out there. You're going to want to use their apps versus using your credit card. It'll just make for a much better experience. You'll be able to monitor things on your phone and so on. So showed him PlugShare and using the EA app. So hopefully it'll help him have an incrementally better experience. But moving forward, one of the things that I'm going to look to do is, ask these folks if they'd be interested in, doing a 5-minute interview with me on camera for YouTube, so we can educate the rest of the public on who drives an EV, why do they decide to get an EV, what do they like, what don't they like, and what's their experience been like, right? So looking forward to having those conversations. Maybe we'll start this at our next stop here in New Jersey at Electrify America, and see what the experience is for somebody that's just getting into it. All right, so we pulled into our second charging stop in Fort Lee, New Jersey.
In 1 mile, keep right to take Interstate 95
Electrify America
south.
station. And once again, every single charger was occupied, and there were at least 2 other vehicles waiting. Now, we pulled in there with about 145 miles of range, so I made the decision that we were not going to sit there and wait. So got back onto the New Jersey Turnpike here, and we're going to continue. Now our GPS is indicating that Rivian Adventure Network charger in Delaware is roughly 130 miles, and like I said, we've got a range of about 144 in conserve mode here. So that's only about a 15 mile buffer. Currently doing 67 miles an hour. Probably will lock it in at about 69. But I will probably pull up PlugShare or one of the other apps, if not the GPS itself, and look to see if there are any other. We know there are several other charging options here on the New Jersey Turnpike. But right now I've got my filter set to only look for Electrify America and Rivian. So we'll see if there's another EA. I know there's not another Rivian until we get to Delaware. But we might just, stay the course and charge when we get to Delaware at the Rivian Adventure Network. So without me having to do anything, our Rivian GPS has recalculated our route and added another Electrify America charging stop, so that we don't have to worry about that 12-13 mile buffer that we're working with in order to get to the Rivian Adventure Network. So the one that it added is Electrify America in Elizabeth, New Jersey, which is only a short 10 miles away from where we are now. Not sure why I didn't pick that one in the first place. I think part of the challenge is a lack of availability information from Electrify America, at least in the Rivian navigation app. Because this site, Electrify America there in Elizabeth, New Jersey, how do I see it? How do I see it? Okay, it's here. So if I zoom into it, it's only saying we need to charge for about 22 minutes. But if I click on it, you see it's indicating there are 10 chargers here. All appear to be 150 kilowatt units, right? So if they can get to the point where they're able to get status information on Electrify America in terms of which ones are in use, which ones are down, and so on, that's ultimately where we need to get to with this information in the vehicle navigation systems. But we're going to stop here and hopefully not have to wait and get some decent juice. So we'll check in once we get there. Well, you're not going to believe this, but we got to the Electrify America site here in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and there's a huge Tesla supercharger. All right, so we've got, I don't know, it looks like 20 Tesla superchargers here. Several of them here appear to be available. I'm assuming they're all working. All right, and then up here we have Electrify America with a line of what are now 4 EVs. You got 2 Audis, Polestar 2, Kia Niro, all waiting to charge. And you know, we've got several of them that appear to not be functioning because nobody's plugged in there charging. So we're batting 1,000 right now in terms of CCS charging sites, in this case Electrify America, where the infrastructure just isn't ready for prime time. We're not going to wait. We're going to keep moving. If we have to drive slower to get to our destination, we will. Plus, I'm 100% confident that there are other charging options between here and there. But this is the reality of what we've got to deal with. All right, so this is our third and final charging stop on the trip home. Not sure that this one was even necessary, but we're in Belcamp, Maryland. We actually skipped the Delaware Christiana Mall Rivian charging site to come to this one, which is a little closer to us in Belcamp, Maryland. We've got 6 300 kilowatt chargers, Rivian chargers. So these are exclusive to Rivian owners right now. And they, in the last 2 months or so, started charging, you'll see it's 36 cents per kilowatt hour. There we go, 36 cents per kilowatt hour. And right now, plugging in at a 29% state of charge, we're up to 172 kilowatts and climbing. So, not sure how long we'll stay here, but definitely wanted to give the Rivian chargers a look. I mean, it's a great looking charging unit. Not sure who actually makes them, but pretty powerful units at 300 kilowatts, and we literally are the only ones here. It's the only stop on this trip where all stalls weren't full and we had to wait. So hopefully we can get many more of these Rivian chargers, DC fast chargers, installed so that we can take advantage of them. And there's my puddle light from Valkyrie. It's our name for our silver R1T. And again, for this trip, we are not using our tonneau cover because I'm transporting these Model X wheels back to Maryland to find them a new home. All right, last stop, I'll check in again once we get home to pull our final stats from this trip. Looks like we're still at 174. We'll see how high this goes. I'll share the complete charging curve on this one. All right, last thing I'll show is that both the front light, front light bar and rear light bars light up to give us a feel for state of charge on the vehicle, which is pretty cool. All right, so we've finally made it home at 9 p.m. Eastern time. That was a long day, almost 12 hours. Total time, I think we left the house on the Cape at about 9:40 a.m. and we got here at 9 o'clock. And it was made longer and harder by the EV charging experience on a non-Tesla network. I mean, that is flat out the bottom line, right? The locations for Electrify America in this case, as well as the one Rivian stop. So we stopped 3 times coming back. 2 Electrify America, and then the last one was Rivian. And they're not like the Tesla superchargers where you literally just pull off either 95 or New Jersey Turnpike right into a rest stop. You actually have to come off of those roads, go a little bit of a ways off the beaten path to find charging. Every single stop that we went to, other than the Rivian Adventure Network charging stop, our last one in Belcamp, Maryland, there was a wait. So today is January 2nd. I don't know if these are remnants of the holiday travel. There's probably some aspects of that contributed to the density of people in vehicles needing to charge. But every single place we went to, we ended up having to wait. So that was not cool at all. And there were a couple of stops where, because of the lines that we saw, we actually just kept moving, right? We didn't stay there. We just continued on down the road and tried to find other locations. So a couple of takeaways. At the stops where we did stop, the 2 coming back, as well as, and we didn't film going up to Cape Cod, but going up, we stopped once at Carteret, New Jersey, at an evgo site where they have 2 350 units and 200 kilowatt units, and all of those were taken. And when we got there, apparently the 2 350s were down. So the cars that were there were actually waiting to access the 100 kilowatt unit. So we left there, we went to another place a little further up the road, where as we got there, we ended up having to wait. It was less than 5 minutes, but that was another evgo location, and ended up having to wait a little bit, but we were able to charge successfully there. Going up, we only stopped twice. The second stop was in Dartmouth, Massachusetts, and pulled in and did not have to wait. So that second stop going up, as well as our last stop, which was at the Rivian Adventure Network site in Belcamp, Maryland, were the only two where we didn't have to wait. And each time that we ended up charging after having to wait, I took the time to walk around and look at the other vehicles. And in every circumstance, there were more than half the vehicles charging were at a state of charge north of, let's say, 85% state of charge. So they really should not have still been there continuing to charge. So there's a ton of education that we've got to do. I also feel like the charging networks can probably implement disincentives to get people to stop charging beyond 80% on road trips with DC fast chargers. I don't know if it's, charging an extra 10 cents per kilowatt hour. If you're going to be charging beyond 80%, let's say between 80 and 90%, it's 10 cents. Between 90 and 100%, it's 25 cents per kilowatt hour beyond that. Or maybe we do it per minute. But we've got to do something to stop people from filling up their EVs on road trips, because that's what was happening, right? Folks were there charging beyond 85%, in some cases beyond 90, beyond 95%. We actually saw at least 3 or 4 cars that were between 95 and 98%, and they were still plugged in charging, while others were queued up waiting to use those chargers. So I think a combination of carrot and stick, right? The carrot being education, the stick being, those charging providers making it more expensive for them to do that. Because that's something that we've got to change, right? Unless you're towing, or you're at a location where you absolutely need it to get to your next charging site, you really shouldn't be at a DC fast charger beyond 80% state of charge. So that's something we've got to change. In terms of the Rivian R1T in this case, and the same would be true for the R1S, I absolutely love this vehicle. It's so freaking comfortable. It is so utilitarian. There were 3 of us on this trip. My wife, my youngest, and our dog, Charlotte, in this 2-row vehicle. And we had a bunch of stuff. I've got 4 22-inch wheels and tires in the bed. So all of our stuff is either in the gear tunnel or in the frunk of the vehicle. Plenty of room to transport our things with the heated seats. The cold temperatures really did not bother me in this car. Heated steering wheel, very, very comfortable. The HVAC system in here works extremely well, as does navigation. So really, really pleased with the way this vehicle performed. So on an upcoming video, I'll spend a little bit more time providing a tour of it. But starting with the driver display here, made it back here with 172 miles indicated remaining, which is a 49% state of charge. I mean, like I said, we did not need to stop in Belcamp, but I did want to try a Rivian Adventure Network on this trip. And that was the reason for that stop. So in terms of the final trip metrics, right, there we go. Just under 520 miles driven, 9 hours and 9 minutes of drive time, and an average of 57 miles per hour. The other thing I want to look at here is, and it's odd that you have to go into About and Trip Computer, but there we go. The efficiency on this was almost 2.2. So given, you know, the cold temperatures, we're still at 36 degrees. We left Cape Cod in the 20s and arrived here in the mid 30s. Despite that, and also despite not having the tonneau cover closed for this trip, we were able to see 2.2, which is decent for winter road tripping, and that was in conserve mode. I'm actually going to come in here and actually take it out of conserve, because you only want to use that on long road trips where you're cruising. Day to day, we want all four motors working and providing the performance that that does. So here are my final thoughts on this. So we absolutely need to have more EV charging infrastructure, especially DC fast chargers. There are so many folks adopting EVs and having poor experiences because of either the lack of infrastructure or lacking performance of the infrastructure that we do have. So there's opportunity for improvement there, and hopefully as we start to see more of the NEVI funding get implemented, we'll see more and more of this infrastructure put out there. For those of us that are Rivian owners and drivers, the Rivian Adventure Network can be a real game changer for us, similar to the Tesla experience years ago, before the proliferation of Tesla vehicles, right? Rivian's still at a point where if they can accelerate the rollout of the Rivian Adventure Network, which, as I said earlier, is currently exclusive to Rivian owners, and 36 cents per kilowatt hour, that could be an absolute game changer for us road tripping with these vehicles. Because again, that was the only location other than the one all the way out in eastern Massachusetts on the way to Cape Cod where we had zero wait. In fact, we were the only ones at the Rivian charger. And on this trip, it was one of two that gave us essentially the full max charging capability that the vehicle can accept, right? That charging session at the Rivian Adventure Network ended up peaking at just under 220 kilowatt, which is the max limit for our R1 vehicles. So that can be an absolute game changer. I'm really hoping that Rivian just does what they said they were going to do, right? They had indicated that they would have, I believe the number was somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 Rivian Adventure Network sites up and running by the end of 2023. Obviously that did not happen, but if we can continue to see that rollout and perhaps even see it accelerate, that would be an absolute game changer for Rivian owners. And it can also be part of the DC fast charging infrastructure that's available to everyone, because it is Rivian's intention to open this up to all EV vehicles. All right, so I think those are my final thoughts. Would love to hear any commentary, whether this was helpful, too rambly. Would love to hear what sort of value anyone's able to get out of this type of content. So until next time, thanks for watching if you have been.